Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestall.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our audience. Paul, my friend, we are recording this well in advance, but it is technically Boxing Day when we should be recording this, and hopefully we are both drunk.
Yes, I'll be pondering my options Boxing Day. Whether I should wander about. Should I eat more cheese?
Yes, the answer is always yes.
Should I drink that bottle of champagne so early in the day? Is there a good film on? And the answers to all those questions are usually yes.
I'm not going to say the movie that I have been repeatedly mentioning on this lengthy recording session today.
In fact, where's my Radio Times gone? I could tell you what's in. I've ringed something Boxing Day afternoon. I can't find it. I've had my highlighter and got them all sorted.
I love that you still have terrestrial cable. I haven't had TV in 20 years.
So essentially, it's a Fire Stick through a major company. So I'm with Sky. So basically, it's plug and play. We've got a central hub in the bedroom, and then we've got two Fire Stick boxes connected to the two TVs.
What a time to be alive.
John Logie Baird would be proud.
Did he also do something to a gnome? That's a callback to a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you guys will remember that or not.
I don't know. It might be the reason why he tried to invent TV. Who knows?
The mysteries of the universe, such that we try to answer here on The Ghost Story Guys. And we will do that by looking at the mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to say the medium of dance.
I mean, we could do that too. I don't have a lot
Christmas.
of room to maneuver here, but I'm doing what I can. A little Salome, huh?
Ooh, saucy.
That was me taking off. That was me taking off my shirt. You guys can't see that. And better for you that you can't.
How much do you want to keep your clothes on?
When I was a kid, my friends and I were joking. We would try and write a movie script. And one of them was like, it's like a road trip comedy where they need to raise money. So they do a reverse strip where they go on stage like half naked and they just keep putting clothes on and as people throw money at them.
Like in Dodgeball where they do that, they try and do that sexy car wash and they all look like crack addicts. And then round the corners, all those beautiful women doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, we are recording this well in advance, weeks in advance at this point, actually, almost 2 weeks in advance. So if you've sent us a message and you don't hear it on this show or the next, just know we will get to it. We are catching up, or we will be catching up. But for now, we will start with a message from Tira. And Tira says, just hearing Brennan say, I think we undersell the importance of beauty made me so proud to listen to support this podcast financially. Take my money and keep making great art, Brennan and Paul. By the way, I listen to Fear Daily religiously, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art I consume every day. Thank you, Brennan. Your creativity amazes me. Well, thank you, Tira. That's very kind. Fear Daily is a real passion pursuit for both Brandon and I. It is an enormous amount of fucking work, more than I think either of us really considered. So I'm glad that there are folks out there enjoying it because, oh God, they better. They better.
Real blood on every episode.
You're kind of not wrong. Yeah.
I've seen the Calluses.
That's not. Anyways, it's Christmas. Let's move on.
I didn't expect them there. Oh well, live and learn.
You don't try and put me in a box, man. You don't understand.
Okay, bro.
That's right, bro.
You gonna Burning Man, bro?
I feel like, no, that's just, I was going to make a Joe Rogan reference. And since he's probably going to be like Secretary of Defense or whatever, I should probably not make fun of him anymore.
Secretary of Fating. Our next message is from Becca via Spotify, who says, yes, art is so important. It's so sad it's downplayed so much. I don't think I've agreed more when you two were saying do whatever it is that brings you joy, even if you aren't that good at it. I was told I was terrible at the creative arts, drawing, painting, etc. Asked to lip sync in the choir because I couldn't sing well, and was told I wasn't good at any form of art. I did excel at creative writing in high school, though, and I agree. The recorder is the worst. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Becca. And funny enough, April, our patron, also commented that, yeah, she's thousands of miles away from us, but she has also been tormented by the recorder.
I hope my version of Frere Jacques will soon get picked up by a label and be hitting the charts.
I hope so too. I'm looking forward to hearing that baby remixed. We should have got Peter on that.
Yeah. Yeah, get Megan Thee Stallion rapping over that. It's number one all day.
Oh, God, I want to be rich if for no other reason than I could afford that. And yeah, thanks, Becca. It sucks that they said that shit to you, man. That's the worst. Jesus Christ. People are gross. I'm happy you enjoy creative writing, though. Maybe one day you can take over Fear for me so I don't have to think about it every day. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching something earlier on. They were doing a little segment on one of those light entertainment shows where they seem to be nonplussed about adults buying toys for themselves, which to me seems perfectly normal. But apparently in the UK now, 18% of adults buy themselves presents at Christmas, as in toys.
Okay.
To play with, like models and stuff. And they seemed very surprised by it. And everybody they asked said, why not? If it gives you joy, why shouldn't you do it?
Yeah. Why do they? This is that weird thing where we have this idea that the adult version of adulthood our grandparents experienced is what we should experience. You know, like anything that's new is a child's pursuit. And what we should be doing is fixing the gutters and staring into the middle distance while we get drunk enough to hit each other. Yeah. This is not a good way to live. They just live that way because they had fuck all else to do with their time.
Yeah. It's like when you hear, it's usually men of a certain age, and they'll always be complaining about young sports people playing computer games, as though no adults play computer games. And they make these statements going, well, computers are just for kids. Really? Can you tell me then why Grand Theft Auto is an 18, you bell end?
That's what I'm talking about. They're communicating from this version of the world. I consider it like children playing grown-ups. That's what they sound like to me. Well, we don't. Video games are for little babies. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, go on. Sorry, mate.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this particular commentator is a bit of a curmudgeon at best, but he also famously asked for a transfer because he joined a team and his wife didn't like it because they weren't being invited to premieres anymore because the team wasn't big enough.
Oh, I'm very sad for you.
Yeah, one of those people who the word actor after their name baffles you because you think, well, they can't act. I'm really good.
Him or her?
Her. He was a footballer of sorts.
I see. Who is it?
It's called Danny Murphy. He looks like a potato.
And who's she?
I think she's called Davina Taylor. She was a soap actress.
Oh, that's why she stopped being invited to fucking preview.
On the worst soap in the UK, which is Hollyoaks.
No,
acting goes to die.
No, I got no time for that shit.
Now, one person managed to break out of Hollyoaks and has ended up making a stellar career of her life, and I've forgotten her bloody name. But she's in June, and she was in Game of Thrones. Oh, I've forgotten her name. Natalie Emmanuel.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. I know her from Fast and Furious, but yes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, whenever she appears on programmes in the UK, I always say, I wonder if they'll mention Hollyoaks to Game of Thrones type thing. And every interview I ever see her on UK TV, they always mention the fact that she was in Hollyoaks and then went into Game of Thrones, as if nothing else she's ever done matters. And then she's usually promoting something that has nothing to do with either of those programs. Because when did Game of Thrones finish? 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
Something like that.
So, I'm sure she's delighted that part that she had that wasn't major, but it was quite important, keeps being brought up, as well as a soap opera she appeared in 15 years ago. But she's chuffed to bits.
I got to give her credit. She had just headlined John Woo's remake of his own, The Killer.
Yes,
it's not great, but she acquits herself admirably in it, and just being able to work with John Woo is a pretty cool feather in your cap.
Yeah, she's done fits, and she was also unfortunately in Megalopolis, wasn't she? I don't think anybody's talking about that film enough, are they? I
saw that film. I got to tell you, Paul, I'm sad it wasn't a success, and there's only one reason I was sad, because there is a line Adam Driver says. Actually, it must have been to Natalie Emmanuel. And I wish the film had been popular so I could just use this line to reply to anyone who asks me a question. And that line is, what entitles you to think you deserve to plow the riches of my Emersonian mind? And I just wish I could, if the movie had been popular enough, I could drop that on someone And whenever they ask me, what time is it? What do you think entitles you to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind? Just to be an insufferable piece of shit. I could say it, but no one's going to know what the fuck I'm talking about, so they might think I'm being serious, and then they'll shoot me, and I'll deserve it. So, yeah, sad Megalopolis wasn't a success for that reason.
Well, true. Very true. It could also mean that one of the top 15 films of the year isn't a sequel, because the top 15 films are all sequels of some description. The only one that's the loosest one is Wicked.
Which I saw the other day. It is actually quite good.
Of course it would be. It's a wonderful musical. It's a great book. It's got incredible songs. Did you cry during Defying Gravity?
I did not. I did not feel that strongly. Well, I think we've covered that. Yeah, absolutely. I paid to see Megalopolis. I clearly have no heart.
Yeah, but you can't wait for part 2.
I will go see it. I will see it. I know I quite enjoyed it. I was bored. I've seen everything else in the theaters. At the time, I saw it aside from Push Patu, which I've heard is not very good. It's an Indian film that's also 3.5 hours long, which is far too long to invest in something that's apparently bad. So I thought, let's go check out Wicked. And no, it was good shit.
Yeah. I saw somebody the other day complaining that it was a musical. I mean, are these people idiots?
Yes. Yeah, I'll save you the guessing, yes.
Yeah, like a worldwide phenomena, critically acclaimed musical on both sides of the Atlantic. They've made a film out of it that everybody's very excited about, and one person apparently doesn't know it's a musical. I mean,
Ariana Grande, who I will have to say is no actress. She does not have much in the way of dramatic range. She's not terrible, but she's just limited. However, goddamn, she can sing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No doubt in that. It is. I mean, I made that mistake, but I made that mistake before the internet. When I went to see A Nightmare Before Christmas. And
okay.
I sat down and it started, and then about 5 minutes in, they started singing. And I thought, oh, I wasn't expecting this, but I enjoyed it. And it's one of those strange things. It's ended up, strangely enough, I saw it the same year my daughter was born, and it's her favourite film, even though we'd never watched it together until we'd met.
That's so cool. Some things, man, it's just in the blood.
Yeah, always been weird.
All right. So next up, we have a pair of comments. One from Esther. She says, "Hi, Ghost Story guys. Love your show. You have great chemistry. When AI makes stuff up, it's called hallucinating, which is hysterical." Yes, it is. AI is dog shit garbage. My favorite story is that OpenAI made a big deal about allowing more people to join Sora. They said, Sora, our video generation tool, is now open to signups. And of course, they cannot afford to keep it running for everyone. So they've now closed signups again because OpenAI is full of shit. And this amuses me greatly. Our other message is from RenPet516 on YouTube. "I've always wondered about the connection between kids' imaginary friends and haunted houses. My brother and I had tons of them. We lived in a very haunted house. My daughter has had none, and there's nothing in our house." Yeah, RenPet, I think that is makes a lot of sense. And we've talked about that before, this idea that, again, sometimes there's more to imagination there's more to these things than imagination.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're not sure about it, buy a book called InvisiKids, which has some incredible stories of childhood friends, which will make you realize that there's a lot of them that aren't imaginary.
Interesting. We might have to do a show on that book.
Jen contacts us via the medium of Patreon and says, "Have you read the book Year Zero by Rob Reed? It matches two aliens against copyright law in the music industry and is a hell of a romp that pokes fun at human hubris and the absurdity and greed inherent in the laws protecting the record labels, amongst other things." And I have to say, no, I have not.
No, I have not. I know Year Zero is a fairly mid Nine Inch Nails album, but that is all I know. So I'll have to add that to my must-read list, Jen.
Yes. Musical copyright stories are legendary.
That Heretic movie with Hugh Grant, a huge portion of their thesis for that film involves musical copyright, which I got to say I was not expecting. That was it wasn't a bad film. Hugh Grant was very good. The other performers were very good. I just thought the film was not quite as deep as it wanted you to think it was. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes some artists can get a bit giddy about themselves. George Michael's famous legal battle with Sony is a prime example of that. Prince falling out with his label because apparently he was too prolific. And
really?
That's what caused all the slave on his face stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
because he was basically doing an album every 9 months, and he wanted to release it, and the record company went, "No, we haven't finished promoting the last one yet. What are you doing?" And he was like, "Well, I'm a musician. I've got an album. I want it out." And so that's what started it. And then he just went, "Right then." Not talking and writing slave on him, drawing eyes on his hands and stuff. That's what it was all about. They kept refusing to release his music.
That would be enormously frustrating.
Yeah, whereas George Michael's, I think, was about the fact that Sony wanted him to be more poppy and release more pop-friendly records because they were very disappointed with Listen Without Prejudice, even though it's a fantastic work of art. And that was, he basically was, I think he sued them for restraint of trade. He ended up getting out of it, but I think, the advance he got from the label he left Sony for covered the costs, but because he didn't win the court case, because the court case said, well, they're entitled to their opinion. You can't say, I don't want to do this. They paid you millions of dollars. They're expecting that George Michael, and you've given them that George Michael. So it's a strange, but then you end up with somebody like Nena Cherry, who Sony blackballed for 10 years and basically refused to let her leave the company, but also refused to release anything she had.
I've not heard that story.
Yeah. So she was, I'm not even sure it was only 10 years. It might have been a lot longer because obviously she was enormous. Her second album was a bit underwhelming, and then she did a couple of singles, and then she just disappeared for 15 years. And it was down to the fact that Sony wouldn't release her from a contract, but they wouldn't release anything she'd written.
You hear about that with actresses, primarily actresses, where, they'll be they'll refuse to allow someone to take advantage of them in one way or another. They'll be branded as difficult, and then they just don't work. Like Mira Sorvino, from what I understand, was one of these people, an enormously talented actress. Sorry, who?
Sean Young.
Sean Young, yeah, that's another one.
Took Jim Carrey to save her career.
Yeah, and again, that's a whole other thing. Ace Ventura, we talked about that a couple episodes back, how that movie does not hold up to the test of time. All right, our next email is from Kyla. Kyla says, I hope you're both doing well and battening down the hatches as things start to cool down. Brennan, I am hoping an Ontario winter is kind to you. I have a few observations and questions for you both. 1, Brennan, you had mentioned watching the Laura Letts Beckett documentary In Cold Water on Amazon. I actually work and live immediately in this area, and I'm a teacher myself. Laura taught in our district until her passing, just a couple of years after I started here. She was an extremely lovely person, and the resolution, if you can call it that, of this case is infuriating. Watching the documentary was surreal, as I had not previously had that much insight into how everything went down. Seeing the hand-drawn maps to places around where I live was incredibly disconcerting. It is true that many times relationships have a duality to them that we are not outwardly aware of, but if we as individuals suspect that our friends or relatives are in a situation that seems unsafe or not quite good for them, I feel we should actually say something. I get the impression that not enough people voiced concerns about Laura's treatment and the dramatic changes they saw happen in her life. It is definitely Berta country to typically mind your own business, but this case is proof that this chosen ignorance is completely unhelpful and tragic. I'd rather have an ugly conversation to confirm a friend is okay with their partner than not. And yeah, I have to agree. There's more to the email, but I just want to say quickly, I'm with you right there, Kyla. I think it is better to say something than nothing. I've lost friendships over this. If, a friend will say, what do you think of so-and-so? And I'll say, I don't think she's very good for you, or I don't think he's very good for you. And they don't want to hear it. And like I said, it's cost me those relationships, but I wasn't wrong because those ended very badly. And there was a lot of heartache between there and the end. But again, all you can do is speak up, and at least then your conscience is clear.
Yep.
All right. You want to read the other half, Paul?
I'll just sort the cat out that's scratching my door.
Okay.
She's not done it for 3 weeks. She's back with a vengeance.
Of course.
Because it's Dreamy's time. Secondly, I know you're both going to talk to Morgan Knudsen for ghost stories in and around Edmonton. But being as I used to live there, and now only live 1 hour away, I have to share my 2 cents, of course. The Campsall Hospital is one I would love to hear more stories about. This is a hospital that has lots of alleged rumours around it, and is worth mentioning as a probable haunted hotspot, even if you're unable to find any actual stories. There is a story about McKay Avenue School that is also pretty compelling, as well as many more in the city. Now here's my shameless plug. My husband and I have begun to do investigations into supposed hauntings, and we've actually done 2 investigations of a school in Busby. We are ridiculously amateur, so we're talking about a couple of old video cameras, a GoPro, and an EMF detector. But both times we have investigated the Busby School, and the reports that some teachers have shared with us, we've picked up some pretty interesting phenomenon, such as whistling, knocking, a thrown rock, and the sound of a toy bell being rung. I'm the worst video-making person ever, so literally I couldn't fake anything if I tried. But we have these things on video, along with a phantom toilet flush. Yes. We're hard into the scientific method and have tried debunking many of the weird things we've caught with little success. We're just around the corner from our next investigation of a colleague's house. Wish us luck. We're finding it insanely interesting and fun and are always looking for the next place to go. Turns out we may be the only paranormal investigators in our neck of the woods these days, as many paranormal groups in northern Alberta ate shit after COVID. Lastly, Paul, I want to put you onto a book I received from a friend the last time he was in the Yukon. It's a little on the utilitarian side of things, but it's also incredibly interesting. It's called Nahaga Tales of the Northern Sasquatch, which is comprising of cases featuring Sasquatch sightings in the Yukon, the Northwestern Territories, and very northern BC. Even more compelling, the majority of the cases in this book, which is written by Red Gossinger, have been reported by First Nations people. For the most part, the book reports on concrete encounters, such as visuals, noises heard, smells, that people have had. But there's a little dibble-dabble on whether Sasquatch is interdimensional, and that's the only spot where I likely agree to a disagree. But then again, who knows? I don't believe, however, that Sasquatch is an alien. Sorry, Brennan.
Boo!
But picks you back up now, Brennan. You're okay. Brennan, I've been really enjoying Fear Daily. The stories you are putting out are incredibly engaging and impressively written. I'm wondering if you're going to keep writing the whole thing solo, or if you would consider a guest submissions. I have a few ideas that would fit the aesthetic you've created, so if you're open to it, let me know. I'd love to take a crack at it. Thanks again for all the intelligent hilarity on my daily commute. You guys are awesome. Kyla.
Well, Kyla, thank you very, very much for the kind words about fear. We don't know is the honest truth. We are still figuring all that out. We're still figuring out really like what the show, what we can expect from it, things like that. But yeah, if the time comes when we start taking on guest submissions or we start looking for other writers, then I will definitely keep you in mind.
And Danny Robbins.
And Danny Robbins, oh, he knows what he did. I'll write a story for him with my fists.
The old paranormal 2-punch.
Hoo-ha! I just wonder, does he hear this shit? He's like, no, I'm famous. You're an idiot.
He said hi to me via a third party the other day.
No kidding.
Yeah, Richard Freeman ended up being invited to join the Uncanny Con at the weekend as the cryptid expert, and so Richard sent on his best regards as well as Evelyn's. So, which is nice because I've spoken to Evelyn recently, so she's coming back next year.
Oh, cool. Again, the Paul Bestel on the rise. And Danny Robbins is going down.
Like sourdough bread.
Like the Edmund Fitzgerald Robbins.
Yes.
He's done nothing. Again, folks, just for the record, Danny Robbins seems lovely. He's done nothing wrong. I'm just being a tool.
That's exactly what a victim would say.
Victim? Hell no. He's going to be the victim. Is that legally actionable?
He's coming with me.
Yeah, exactly. Are you familiar with that book, Paul?
I am not. I am envious. Anything like that, I absolutely would love to get my hands on. And I'll get my hands on that fucking cat.
Next up is a comment from Hatchet Lizzie on Spotify. Hatchet Lizzie says, I just want to thank you for all that you do, Paul and Bren. I started listening during the pandemic when I'd sit alone at work and paint. You kept me company through 2 losses, the birth of my daughter, and several job changes. I love the camaraderie you have as much as I love the stories. And that's really beautiful. Hatchet Lizzie, thank you very, very much.
Gabrielle writes, Dear Brennan and Paul, I've just found myself wiping my kitchen floor. I dropped the entire contents of my coffee machine water container on the floor. As I effed and jeffed, I love that term, and you should know I was listening to GSG through my earbud thingy as I coped with this stupid disaster. I managed to curse everything I had ever known, and then I heard you and Paul do the Ghost Force call out. Bizarrely, I was hating the moment, but then I heard my name mentioned. It was so unexpected, and I just laughed like a drain. How utterly silly. Cleaning a floor and finding that I am also a member of Ghost Force. In the meantime, gentlemen, my best regards and thanks. I still have to wipe that bloody floor. I will do that in due course. Once I finish listening to the latest episode, I will do that knowing that I am a member of Ghost Force.
Ghost Force.
Oh,
that's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle. And we're happy that we could help prick up your day. Again, sometimes these things just work out. All right. So we have one more message while Paul chases off his cat.
I even hid there behind the door and had it ajar. Nothing. Pushed it too. Opened it. Not there. What the fuck is going on?
That's amazing. Oh, man.
Cat ninja.
Apparently so.
Yeah, she's lethal, Poppy. Paws of death.
And our last message for this abbreviated episode of Talk Spooky to Me comes from Cindine. Cindine says, "Hey there, Brennan and Paul. First, thank you for being emotional support podcasters to many folks in the U.S. who are terrified of what's ahead in the coming months. It really does help. But I'm really writing to let you know how much I appreciate the way you handled the 2 episodes featuring stories from jails and prisons. I was nervous to listen to them. Most content touching on life on the inside is inaccurate, racist, and utterly dehumanizing. The dignity of incarcerated people is so often sacrificed in the name of sensationalism and cheap humor. You did not go there. You just told stories, as it should be. I know we shouldn't have to thank each other for simply not being shitty, but I am grateful all the same." Thank you very much, Cindine. That was important to us. Both Paul and I have very strong feelings about that world. I mean, Paul works in that world, or worked in past. It was because that's not your current job, right?
No, not now. No.
Right. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yes, I work in the exciting world of pensions.
That's it. Yes.
As you can tell, I talk about it endlessly.
Oh yeah. Well, I can. Yeah. Just the fire in your voice.
Yeah. Well, I don't like to talk about it because as soon as you mention to people, they just start talking to you about it.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
And I just say, no. It's 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I don't want to talk about pensions. Can we talk about Bigfoot? Has Bigfoot got a pension? That's the question.
We should talk to him. Bigfoot, reach out to us about your 401k.
Like Cindine says, I think having an insight into the criminal justice system makes you far more aware that not everybody inside prison is necessarily a bad person. And as I've often said, many of us, either through luck, good judgment, or just happenstance, have managed to avoid finding ourselves inside in certain situations. And I think, there, for the grace of God, go there, because there are some places, there are notorious, and yes, they are a lot better than they used to be, but a lot of them are still shitholes that treat people like worthless pieces of junk. And I've always said, you can't fix people if you keep punishing them over and over and over again. There's a never-ending cycle of criminality and failure. You're just setting people up to fail.
I think it's that thing where, which I find really frustrating, where we're quite happy to do something because it feels good if the something is punishing someone else. You know, if it's something that feels good and it's like we're talking about the video games thing, like you play video games that feels good, that's bad because that's frivolous. But we punish someone, it feels good to punish them. That feels good. We like punish them. We like hurting people, and that's okay. It's okay to feel good if you're making someone else feel bad, which I find enormously frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things when you look back at some of the footage of these big crowds that used to get outside American facilities, usually, where a notorious serial killer was being put to death. And yes, there are some terrible, terrible, terrible people that walk on this planet.
Of course.
And whilst in most cases, I am completely against the death penalty. There are certain individuals who one has to consider the reasons for their living in a great deal, because you have to balance the suffering against the law. And, you know, when you've got, especially these days, because a lot of them can reach out from inside prison and continue to torment the victims and the families and the police officers that have been involved in that case. And that, for me, is abhorrent. I mean, prime example of this that I've recently become aware of is obviously that dickhead who was in charge of Nexium, Keith.
Oh, Rainier.
Rainier, or whatever it is. He's still got believers that turn up outside the prison he's currently in, serving 120 years, and they dance for him. And so the prison's moved him, and so he wanted the acolytes to come and seduce the prison guards and ingratiate themselves in so they could get inside and get him moved back so he could see where they were dancing.
Lord.
And that's just, you know, I mean, he committed heinous crimes of sexual nature, brainwashing, manipulation, fraud, abuse, torture, mind control.
Yeah.
And for him to still be able to do this and still have access to communications, it's just, sometimes it just baffles you. But then you think, well, if you're a progressive thinker who's wanting to change things like that, am I a hypocrite for having a piecemeal approach to it? And I don't think I am. I don't think carpet judgments work, but I also think that you can't negate the effects that certain individuals have had in society. You look at what the Golden State Killer got away with. You look at that guy they recently caught up with a few years ago who's killed, they think, 90 people over decades and got away with it because he'd murdered people in different states and different counties. And you just think, Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Peter Sutcliffe. You know, Peter Sutcliffe was incarcerated here for 40 years until he died of COVID, sadly. 50
Always
years
a bastard
too late.
to live. Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's, yeah. But then, you know, having worked in it and listened to people's stories, and it breaks your heart sometimes, because some people, it's just, you know, it's just the circumstances of where they are or what they've done. And sometimes it's a slippery slope that you start minor and you end up throwing your life away just because you're trying to survive often.
As we said in those episodes, you know, the ins and outs of the carceral system make for a very thorny argument no matter what it is you're saying. You can't just tar everyone with a certain brush. You can't say, well, you're in jail, therefore you are a bad person, you know, and therefore it's open season on you and your dignity and all that shit. It doesn't work like that. Again, Sadine, we're happy that resonated with you. And again, it's one of those things where it seemed it was important for us to be decent about that and to present that without being dicks. I don't know. That's basically our challenge here on a weekly basis. It's just like, don't be dicks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it works better than others, but that's fine. That's the nature of things. You know, neither of us are perfect. It is just the important thing is you do a little better each day.
Yeah.
Be a little less of a dick than you were the day before. That's what I try to do, at least.
Yes. Reduce the amount of dickiness on a daily basis.
That's it. Scale back the dick. I regret this metaphor. Yep. Anyways, thank you, Sandine. Thank you very, very much. And again, we're gonna end it there. Thanks to everyone who wrote
Christmas.
in. Thank God. Can you tell? We're a little punchy? We've been recording for a while now.
You've been on sherry, haven't you?
I didn't want you to. Actually, I bought myself a nice bottle of absinthe.
Oh, well, I wouldn't drink that all at once.
No.
No, start painting.
Well, it's more the haircuts I think I need to worry about.
Well, I think you should be all right. You're not going to be wanging scissors around that, Barnett.
One would think, but we'll let the absinthe decide for us. Yeah, and again, we're recording this in advance, so if you've sent in a message, look for it hopefully on the next Talk Spooky. You can send those to ghoststoryguys@gmail.com or comment on YouTube, Spotify, all those places. We'll try and sweep as many of those up as we can. And again, we do love hearing from you guys. Even if we don't get you on the show, we love getting your wonderful, heartfelt messages. It means the world. And as we said on the previous episode, thank you for another year of your support. It is our honor and our privilege to entertain you in our little corner of the podcast universe. We look forward to another year to come. Paul, my friend, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me and Mysteries and Monsters across most social media platforms, and the show is available through all podcast sites.
Fabulous. And you can find me at Largely the Truth on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you can find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, everywhere fine podcasts live. And of course, it's not Fear Daily. It is not Largely the Truth. Nope, Jesus Christ. My brain is done, so we got to wrap this shit up fast.
Now it's time for Iron Maiden.
Woo! It is, of course, not an episode of Talk Spooky without a song. This time around, we're sharing a track from the artist Ted Kim. Ted Kim is based out of Chilliwack, British Columbia, and we are featuring his song Ghost in My Attic, which was released on his album Another Way in August of this year. You can find more from Ted at tedkim.bandcamp.com or by following the links in the show notes. And if you have a band you would like to hear your music featured on our show, we are booking artists now for February and March. So make sure to send us an email at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com and we will figure something out.
Especially if you're called Scooter.
Not Scooter Braun. Very deep pull from mid-2000s second Bush administration. Anyways. We will be back next year with episode 205, I know. But until then, we will leave you with Ted Kim and Ghosts.